Happy solar, lunar, something eclipse day, first up, because that's happening. I don't get to see much of it because I live in the Pacific Northwest, and all you lucky guys that get to see it in the full total, let me know and like send pictures and stuff in Discord if you get them or whatever. I think it's kind of complicated to actually do that, to take the anyway. It's that day, but we're not making like a solar eclipse soap. We are doing our new theme for the month of April, which was supposed to be actually March's, but we'll get into more of that, in just a minute. But before we do, hello, I'm Mrs. Soap and Clay. Let's make stuff. How's it going, Sudsers? Welcome back to the channel. You are at Soap and Clay, where we make all the soapy things, and you are here for April's theme, and this month we are going to be tackling all things sea moss. So we will be using sea moss in both soaps as well as in cosmetics, and I gotta tell you, this one has been really hard for me because while sea moss is a very interesting additive to put into our soaps and cosmetics, has lots and lots of benefits, apparently, it's kind of a newfangled thing that we've been including in our diets, in our soaps, in our cosmetics, etc. and so forth. And so as a result, there isn't a lot of scientific information, not a lot of backing behind all of the claims as to what the sea moss does. Now, because of this, because of the brain that I have, and I like to know how things work, I like to go the scientific approach, it was very difficult for me to really just buy in to all of these purported claims, as I think you might understand. And so this week is going to be some of that exploration because I did go down a whole lot of rabbit holes in studying the sea moss. I mean, what is it? It's an algae. What is algae? What is seaweed? What are the differences? How is the family related? Why is it called red algae when the seaweed, the sea moss that I used is beige? Why is it also called Irish moss? Why is it only Irish moss is in the cold? It became a very interesting rabbit hole for this particular project, and I ultimately decided that most of that information you don't need. So I'm going to stay away from it as much as possible and really focus on what we do need as soap makers and as cosmetic makers, and you're not really interested in getting into the behind the scenes and really the whole history of it. It's kind of a different thing entirely. So we will be focusing on this week infusions, different ways that you can actually use the sea moss, both within your lye solution, within your traced soap, the different types of sea moss that exist, and if there's any sort of color benefit as far as actual the benefits that you're going to get from the sea moss itself to the skin, or in actually coloring the soap. You know what I mean? So can we get a natural colorant out of a red or a purple sea moss or a green and all the jazz? So that's what we are going to be focusing on today. And first up, we're going to be making a batch of soap, which is part of my 12 months of soap project that I do every year for the end of year sales for the holidays. And we'll be making March's soap because, again, this was March content. So this was all filmed in February, and it's been a long time, and so there's a lot going on with all of that. But we will be making this, which was a sea moss soap, and we're not going to really get into any of the infusions or anything until tomorrow's video, but instead we're going to talk about just kind of the origins of sea moss, the different types that are available, and whether or not I think, based on what's inside of it, what we do know about it, the fatty acid composition, the antioxidants, etc., and so forth, whether or not I think those things are going to survive saponification and provide a benefit to your soaps. I do want to apologize for the cutting portion of this video. It is pretty blurry. My camera, for whatever reason, did not focus. It was a moment, but it's fine. You get mostly the pattern and everything that I'm going for there, and you can use your imagination for the rest. Anyway, let's get to the pouring of a soap so we can talk about this beautiful, awesome, probably additive called sea moss. Okay, so sea moss, what is it and what is it good for? Well, kind of. It depends on who you ask for all of those questions. And so we are going to kind of explore that today while I make the March soap for my 12 months of soap using sea moss. And I know this is April. Listen, it's been a thing. So, anyway, sea moss. It is also known as Irish moss to some people. We'll come back to that. It is a type of seaweed that has gained a whole lot of popularity for its various health and beauty benefits recently. Now, those health and beauty benefits, they're not really things that we can super test or verify because, again, it is a newer thing that, that we're claiming with all of this. It's one of the new latest crazes. And so, actual studies, we don't have a lot of them. But what I do know about sea moss generally with this deep dive is it is a type of seaweed, as I said. And within the seaweed, it is part of the red algae family. Now, this becomes kind of confusing in and of itself. Like, seaweed is like all algae is seaweed, but not all seaweed is algae, you know? So, anyway, the red algae is the category that sea moss falls into. And I know what you're probably thinking if you have worked with sea moss in the past. Hey, wait a minute. I have used a sea moss that is beige. I've never used red sea moss. Is that a requirement? Do I have bad sea moss? Well, no. No, you super don't. So sea moss is a very interesting thing in that it comes in a lot of colors, right? Even though it's in the red algae family. The biggest reason why it's in the red algae family is going to be just based on how it stores its chlorophyll, not chloroform, its chlorophyll as well as its sugars. So within its system. And we will get into that more when we are talking about this as we continue on throughout the month. But it will come in a wide range of colors, even though it does say that it's part of the red algae family. So you're going to find it in gold, which is the most common that you're going to find it in. And it is the only sea moss that is actually sun-dried before, sending it to the people to make into sea moss smoothies. And in our case, soap. You can also find it in purple to red tones, which is purportedly high in antioxidants. They're going to be good for inflammation. You can also find it in green forms, which have lots and lots of chlorophyll, which topically is good for skin and wound healing, as well as being a natural detoxifier. Now, in my research, one of the things that I did find within the sea moss stuff is that for the darker varieties, so your reds, your purples, your greens, your blacks, etc., they are apparently very light sensitive, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because so much of this is all done, it's aquatic, right? So it's in the ocean, and a lot of it is in the depths of the ocean. And so as a result, if it is exposed to light, it can get beige in color. So you go to the gold sea moss at that point. And so that makes me wonder a whole lot of things. A, if the colors of it, so your red or purple, it has antioxidants that are good for inflammation, and your greens and blues have the chlorophyll that is good for, wound healing and whatnot. Sea moss will blanch and become like the gold sea moss in, color. Does that mean that the benefits of the antioxidants or of the chlorophyll are also lost essentially throughout all of that? Sub question: if there's more gold sea moss in the world than there are the other colors, is that because it grows more or reproduces more as gold sea moss, or is it because it became gold, like it used to be the greens and the blues and the purples and the reds, and then it was gold, it looked like gold sea moss by the time somebody got to it to take it and harvest it and send it to people? These are questions, and these are not questions that the internet is actually willing to answer, because we don't know anything about any of this. Now, I don't know if I said it before. It's also known as Irish moss. I did say it. And so this is kind of a confusing thing, right? Because here's the thing. Sea moss, it exists in cold water in the Atlantic Ocean, but it also exists in warm climates, like in the Caribbean. And so it's like, wow, that's kind of a difference. Okay. So it kind of exists all over the place. Why is it then also known as sea moss? Well, apparently, according to some places on the interwebs, it is also considered Irish moss because the Irish people, that was their primary source of sustenance during the potato famine. So that's a thing. I never learned that in my history books about that. So I'm not sure. I'll link it obviously below. But then we also have stuff that says it's not real Irish. It's not actual like official good sea moss unless you're getting it from Ireland, and that's more rare because it's harder to find it in cold environments versus warm environments. And so it's a little bit confusing. I think maybe it's the best to not call it Irish moss and just refer to it as sea moss and really focus on what all is in there to make it beneficial for our skin. Like what commonalities, what traits does sea moss contain just across the board and independent of where it exists in the world? Because there really is some wild stuff. So we will be talking about all of those benefits within all of these videos, moving forward. I did just kind of want to give you a breakdown right now and talk about some of the kind of confusing bits that do exist, like it apparently there's this study that these people have listed over on like the seamossboss.co.uk that says the cold water seaweed is much better than the warm water, actually. So yeah, on to the cut of all of this. While we continue to kind of talk about sea moss, there's a lot of very interesting information that is not really backed by much of anything valid out there. I will link the study that was shown at the seamossboss.co.uk down below from the National Library of Medicine. That's an interesting lipid component study, but generally speaking, for our purposes, again, we are going to be looking at what sea moss contains within it that's going to be useful for topical applications both in soaps and in cosmetics. And so what we do know across all varieties of sea moss is that it is very rich in minerals. It has like 92 different types of the minerals that our bodies tend to need, like the 102 that we need, to survive. Although also on that website that I was just referring to, I'm pretty sure they said something like, well, since it has 92 of the 102 minerals that humans need, that therefore means that they're super similar. And so it's good for us. I'm like, that's kind of silly, because like our genetic similarity between other things on Earth, like we share the same genetic components, like 60% of the same genetic components as like a banana or a fruit fly. You know what I mean? And the minerals only make up like 6% of our total like composition. And so saying that the mineral similarity between sea moss and humans therefore means it's good for you is a little bit, anyway, that was interesting. But sea moss is very rich in minerals. It has a lot of iodine, calcium, potassium, magnesium, all great things for the skin unless you have sensitivities. And they're going to be really good for nourishing and hydrating the skin. It's going to promote a healthy complexion. Also, sea moss is going to be really, really hydrating because it has such a good, essentially humectant property to it. And so that's going to be true of the sea moss in a gel form or sea moss in a serum form, which is realistically just sea moss water, which we will talk more about throughout all of this as well. Sea moss is also anti-inflammatory, as I was saying, with regards to the reds and purple sea mosses. From what I've seen with all of the information that I have found, that those anti-inflammatory properties exist in all forms of sea moss. And so they exist. There's a thing. Also, sea moss, detoxifying, that will help remove impurities and toxins from the skin. So it's going to help with breakouts, with balancing the skin's pH, all the jazz. From what I can find, again, all sea moss shares that characteristic, regardless of where it's found, whether it's a cold water source or a warm water source, and regardless of color. Also, sea moss has anti-aging benefits because of the antioxidants that help combat the free radicals and prevent premature aging. So it's going to be really good to put into cosmetics to help out with fine lines, wrinkles, all the jazz. As I said before, skin healing. That is also something that seems to be found in all varieties of sea moss, regardless of color and locale. And so in general, like this is going to be really great for hydration, nourishment, anti-inflammatory effects, detoxification, anti-aging properties, all the skin healing benefits that you're going to generally get from any type of sea moss. Again, regardless of where it's sourced. Very interesting information out there. One of the things that I loved the most about the sea moss deep dive and rabbit holes that I went down was that sea moss is also incredibly high in fatty acids. These were the searches I was doing, because how do they apply to soap, right? Very, very high in fatty acids. So we're talking about our omega-3s and our omega-6s, which are going to be very cool because fatty acids in soap making, they do certain things. And so in comparing them to the different types of oils that we can find that are also very high in fatty acids, we're looking at, flaxseed oil, chia seed oil, hemp seed oil, walnut oil, evening primrose. And so these omega-6 and the omega-3 fatty acids are really good for skin barrier functions. It's going to be awesome for moisturizing, for soothing properties, all the jazz. And so as a result, because it's so high in fatty acids, that does mean that we should be watching with all of these different soaps that we're going to make throughout this month in the lather tests and everything. We should be seeing a difference in the performance, in the moisturizing properties, in the bubble, all of the things, because we're dealing with these fatty acids. But then also you have a lot of these things with your antioxidants and your minerals and whatnot that will survive saponification theoretically and will also give us some sort of extra oomph to our soap. So I'm very excited to test all of these. Sorry about the blurry footage. Let's go back to my face. And there it is, the first of many sea moss soaps that we are going to be doing this month, as well as a very fast and very dirty deep dive into a bit of the rabbit holes that I went down while researching this. Again, as I said, you don't really need that kind of background in order to incorporate sea moss into your soaps. And so that is what we are going to be doing for the rest of this week. We're going to be preparing the sea moss gel. We're going to talk about the benefits of that. We're going to be preparing the sea moss extract and talk about the benefits of that. We are going to be incorporating sea moss in a variety of different ways throughout the rest of this week and all the soaps that we are using to see what the lather is going to be, what the hand feel is, how the soap is going to perform based on all the different ways that we incorporated into the soap. So that's going to be very fun. We're definitely going to be diving more into the fatty acid profiles. That is the one thing that I can really confirm with all of this. I think the fatty acid profiles are going to be the thing that we're really going to want to focus on. Because as I stated while I was pouring the soap, if it's like a hemp seed oil, because of the omega-6s and 3s and 9s and all the jazz, the fatty acid composition, I think it's going to make for a pretty special soap. And so I am excited to really talk more about that. We'll also get more into the antioxidants and the chlorophyll and all the jazz in this week. But for now, I think that's probably enough to leave you with before we move on to, tomorrow's content. So, Sudsers, hi. I hope your Monday's going well. By the time you see this, I think the solar eclipse will be done. Probably. So again, as I said before, if you have the cool things, drop them in Discord. I want to see them. That would be cool. And for all of the rest of you that exist and are on this channel for reasons unknown, because you're not a Sudser, you didn't click subscribe, you could do that and become a Sudser. If you wanted to be a membered Sudser and join the Discord and all the fun there, you can do that too. There's a join button in the description of all the videos, as well as in the about section if you're on a computer. It's all a thing. So you can go check that out. That's fine. That's awesome. For the Sudsers, I do have another members only video coming out in a few days. I am going to be trying I'm going to show you a pretty weird thing that I've taken to doing, kind of inspired by one of our recent Project Soapway winners. And so I want to show you that and chit chat about a project I have for you guys that is coming up. Not something that you have to participate in, but something that I've been doing for you. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to go because I have 1,012 things to do. The kiddos have a choir concert tonight, as well as Girls on the Run. So I have to go run for 3 miles with them and then get home and get cleaned and go to choir. So it's going to be a moment. I hope you guys are having an excellent day. I will see you guys all again tomorrow for another round of soapy fun. Bye.